G'day folks, and welcome to another 4motion adventure. Today we're heading down to the Cox's River campground, which is just west of the Blue Mountains. We're going to go down on some beautiful tracks, drive on part of the 6-foot track, which is pretty famous in these parts. We're going to walk up to a great swing bridge, which is going to be really cool and a bit scary to cross from my recollection. What else are we going to do today, Olga?
I'm going to set myself a challenge, and that is to sit in the cool waters of the Cox's River for about 3 minutes. I'm going to set this challenge because according to the Wim Hof method, it's really good for the body, the mind and the soul. So yeah, you guys will get to witness what unfolds.
I think I'll just sit that one out and take some really good footage. Anyway, let's get into the car, let's drive down the mountain and let's get stuck into it.
We start our adventure at Mount Boyce Rest Stop, situated 2 kilometres north of Blackheath, New South Wales. Travelling along the Great Western Highway, we can't help but reflect back to the year 1813, when explorers Gregory Blaxland, William Wentworth and William Lawson led an expedition which became the first successful crossing of the Blue Mountains. Thanks to their efforts in part, the crossing enabled the settlers to access and use the land west of the mountains for farming and made possible the establishment of Australia's first inland settlement. We now also get to enjoy exploring this region of Australia, but in the comfort of our 4motion Freedom Machine. And of course, to the Aboriginal peoples who lived in the area for thousands of years before white settlement, the Cox's River was one of the 2 corridors that was used to cross the Blue Mountains, the other being the Bilpin Ridge, now the site of Bell's Line of Road. Cox's River was the easiest way to cross the mountains, but this fact was unknown to the European settlers, for whom at the time the mountains were a seemingly impassable barrier. Turning left from Great Western Highway and onto Cox's River Road, we travel along both bitumen and gravel for approximately 30 odd kilometres. Destination, Cox's River Campground. The track takes you through private property, so it's important to stay on the main tracks, slow down when passing homesteads and leave any gates the way that you find them. As you wind your way into the lush green hills of the valley fields, a sense of calm engulfs you. It's no wonder why so many people love to visit this region. A dream for bushwalkers, one of the great walks in Australia, the 6-foot track, is a challenging 44 kilometres walk from Katoomba to Jenolan Caves. Usually conducted over 3 days, the track passes through the Blue Mountains National Park and State Forests, following an 1884 heritage track to the caves that was built as wide as a horse-drawn vehicle. In other words, 6 foot.
Righto, we're on the gravel now and there's a lot of corrugations and potholes on this road. So what we're going to do is reduce the tyre pressures to suit the conditions. Now, these tyres are hot at the moment, which means whatever pressure I check them on now, it's going to be when they're hot, which means if I reduce the tyre pressures, and let's say you stop and go for a walk for a period of time, then you've got to be aware that the pressure will drop, and it's about a 4 psi variant depending on how much you're driving. So what I'm going to do with these tyres is drop them down to about 30 psi hot, and then before we kick off again, once we stop for the day, I'm going to check them and make sure they're on the 30 psi. Otherwise they could be down to about 26 or 27. So we'll drop these tyre pressures and then we're going to be on our way.
Journalist David Morley writes, "You can understand how a prestige car or a high-performance model could become a cult item. After all, they're designed to tug at the heartstrings when they're new, so there's a decent chance they'll have the same appeal when they're a few decades old. But how did a vehicle designed in the late 1940s by a car dealer and destined to work out its life dropping off parcels, hauling frozen fish or delivering cut flowers become one of the biggest automotive hits of all time? We refer, of course, to the humble Volkswagen Kombi and its surprising rise to become one of the most loved vehicles on our roads. Kombis are hotter than lava lamps and cooler than Frank Sinatra, he writes, and I tend to agree. He writes, if you need proof that everyone from teenage girls to 60-something surfers want one, sit down and take a look at the current crop of magazine and TV ads. The reason for this outpouring of love is relatively simple. Kombis are a feel-good car.
Righto, we've come across some ruts on the track, and what we're going to do, I'm going to get Olga to put the rear diff lock on, and she's going to straddle the rut to find the smoothest path over this section of the track. By doing so, we're going to maintain traction, maintain control of the vehicle, and be on our way. Let's see what happens. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to guide Olga through using a UHF portable radio. That way, she knows exactly what's going on the ground, and she can trust me, I hope, and get through this obstacle. Let's see what happens. Righto, Olga, rear diff lock on. Yep, turning that way, beautiful. That's good, that's good. Righto, we're going to straddle the rut, keeping the vehicle nice and level. Spot on. That's it, traction control's working, the rear diff lock activated. Beautiful. Go to 4motion. Alright guys, as you can see, that was pretty effortless, and that's thanks to the 4motion system in the van, and a bit of safety was that rear diff lock, so that it pushed through the obstacle in the event that we lost traction in one of those holes. Anyway, let's go see what else we can find.
On this trip, I decided to hone in on my off-road driving skills, sponging off Alex's long-term experience as a four-wheel drive tour guide and driver training instructor. Alex explained tackling steep descents is best achieved by utilising the lower gears in manual mode. In our case, I was switching between first and second gear, and in some instances, adopted a technique called feathering the brake, which involves gently applying your foot on the brake pedal and slowing the vehicle down when required. Upon entering the car park of Cox's River Campground, expect to find it a little small. The campground itself, though, is peaceful and sits pretty among tall eucalypts with plenty of bird watching opportunities and nearby walking and mountain bike trails to explore. Camping type is tent only, and there are some picnic tables, barbecue facilities and toilets on offer. However, the biggest draw card of this pristine paradise is the river itself. Come with me. things about Cox's River, but this is more than we expected. Clean water, boulder-filled rapids and wide grassy banks. What a beautiful spot. The edges of the river are wooded, providing a good amount of shade. The ground is soft and sandy, and the river is wide and shallow. The river flows for hundreds of kilometres, and we are only exploring a very small part of it.
Righto folks, we're about to take the walk from the main campsite to the swing bridge. It's about 1.5 kilometres and that's where we cross the Cox's River. Now along the way, we're going to show you some beautiful scenery, great track to walk on. What are we going to do when we get there, Olga?
Olga's going to get into the river. She's really looking forward to that.
So am I. All right, let's get cracking. We'll get on our way and see what we can find.
The time taken for a return trip to the swing bridge is about an hour and a half with a medium level of fitness required. The lodge built into the hillside is called the Eco Lodge. It's completely off-grid, generating energy from the solar panels and collecting rainwater for drinking and washing. They serve food and drinks and, more importantly, cold beer. Maybe next time. Many people have walked the 45-kilometre historic 6-foot track and crossed the famous Bowtail Swing Bridge, but very few people perhaps know the history around the suspension bridge and how its name came about. Bowtail Swing Bridge was built by 3 Troop, the tunnel rats of the 1st Field Squadron of the Royal Australian Engineers, based at Holsworthy Army Barracks in 1991 and was officially opened on the 23rd of April 1992. The bridge is named after a fellow soldier of the builders, Corporal Bob Bowtail, who suffocated and died on the 11th of January 1966 in foul air while attempting to clear a tunnel of the Viet Cong during the war. Bob was the first member of the unit killed in the Vietnam War. So next time you are crossing Bowtail Swing Bridge over Cox's River, please take a moment to reflect on the sacrifice of not just Bob Bowtail, but of all the men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice fighting for the freedom of our great nation. It's these sacrifices that allow us the freedom and privilege to enjoy the great outdoors and adventures like the 6-foot track. Although it looks sturdy, it moves a surprising amount.
Righto, well that's what 1.5k of track, a little bridge brings it to something like this. What do you reckon?
It's not a little bridge. It's not for the faint-hearted, but it was fun.
Absolutely worth it. We're on the Cox's River here in New South Wales, Australia. Olga's going to jump in the drink now and do a bit of Wim Hof. I'm going to take some photos and we'll be back with you soon. Olga's about to do a Wim Hof. What do you like?
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
It's Wim Hof standards.
Yeah.
Righto, 3 minutes and go. Now we'll come back to Olga when she turns blue in about 3 minutes. Righto, well it's been 3 minutes and Ms. Wim Hof is going to jump out of the water and we'll see what's happened here. Well, she doesn't want to get out, she's not blue. Let's just have a look at what's going on here. How do you feel? Invigorated. Righto, Olga's had her Wim Hof bath. I've taken some photos. We've had a great time. We're going to head back to the car now and I think we're going to crack open a nice cold beer. What do you reckon?
Oh, let's do it. Pure blonde for me, thanks.
All right, let's get going. We'll see you back at the car.
Well, folks, this brings us to an end of another day out at Cox's River.
We're now getting ready for the next trip, all for the love of travel.